I'm back again with more information on the subject of abortion and now subsequently on the buying and selling of baby parts. Legalized grave diggers without having to dig a grave, basically. And I found out that this thing goes a lot further, a lot wider, and a lot deeper than I ever thought possible. So what I'd like to do is first show you an article that I found from 2015, and it was published in a publication that I generally don't hold any creed in any longer. And it was published on July 27, 2015. The title of the story is Who Buys, Sells, and Uses Fetal Tissue Acquired from Abortion Clinics. I thought the subtitle of this was quite interesting in that it states, the fees for fetal tissue, which can run to thousands of dollars for a tiny vial of cells, do not break the law. There appears to be little or no oversight of the processing fees. Okay, this is very important because what I've discovered is these groups of companies that are buying fetal tissues are doing so under the umbrella of research. These organizations have been able to slide in a crack in the door that's been left open by lawmakers in lawmaking loopholes. I don't know, you tell me, do you think that they are purposely left open, or has it been a mistake in the lawmakers' laws that have allowed this to continue happening? I'm not really sure yet. I do know that with every federal mandated law that has been signed by past presidents, there has been loopholes in the law that has allowed this to continue happening. For instance, I'll give you the example of both Bush 1 and Bush 2. So George H. and George W. George W. signed a law that stated no fetal tissue was to be used. However, as I later learned, there were loopholes in which allowed these organizations to continue, even though he signed that law. And then Barack Obama came along and signed again a new law allowing fetal embryonic tissues to be used for research in many different manners. Basically, Barack Obama left the door wide open. There was no question. So I'd like to read to you just a part of this article. Videos released by an anti-abortion group during the last 2 weeks have drawn attention to a little-known practice, the buying, selling, and research of fetal tissue acquired from abortion clinics. The group behind the tape accuses Planned Parenthood of selling fetal tissue for profit, which is illegal and which Planned Parenthood denies doing. House Republicans plan to investigate. This may be just one more battle in the nation's long war over abortion, but the dispute has raised questions about who the buyers and sellers are, what fetal tissue is used for, and what the law allows. The article goes on to state, scientists at major universities and government labs have quietly been using fetal tissue for decades. You see, this is where it becomes quite a blur. There's quite a gray line between what is being allowed, how long it's been allowed, and what the public knows. Because a lot of times we have found out we don't know anything about it until it's already been being a practice for years. So it's a very, very gray line. So they say it is an invaluable tool for certain types of research. Now I want you to remember the word research because it's an umbrella, including the study of eye disease, diabetes, and muscular dystrophy. Nevertheless, some agree to talk about it only if their names and their universities are withheld because of threats of violence. Companies that obtain tissue from clinics and sell it to laboratories exist in a gray zone. Remember that gray zone, legally. Federal laws say they cannot profit, remember the word profit, from the tissue itself. But the law does not specify how much they can charge for processing and shipping. Remember that. The National Institute of Health spent $76 million on research using fetal tissue in 2014, with grants to more than 50 universities, including Columbia, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Yale, and Berkeley. So remember that under the umbrella of research when I show you a clip in just a few moments. But right now I'd like you to listen to a little clip of Carlin called Advertising
Style,
and
service,
Bullshit.
selection, convenience, economy, savings, performance, experience, hospitality, low rates, friendly service, name brands, easy terms, affordable prices, money-back guarantee, free installation, free admission, free appraisal, free alterations, free delivery, free estimates, free home trial, and free parking. No cash? No problem. No kidding. No fuss, no muss, no risk, no obligation, no red tape, no hidden charges, no down payment, no entry fee, no purchase necessary. No one will call on you. No payments or interest till December, and no parking.
You see, it's all about the language, and they know it. It's all about the language. Now, I'd like you to listen to another video that was an investigation done on Planned Parenthood. The baby parts sale, a valid exchange, can make a fair amount of income.
So I think the American people know who Planned Parenthood is and that we are not selling body parts.
A company like this that wants to give our organization money for this machine, right? I think that that's a valid change, and that's okay.
We have independent colleagues who generate a fair amount of income doing this.
They want cardiac, or they want eyes, or they want neural. Certainly everything we put, gonads. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, gonads. Oh my God, gonads. I don't know about you, but I am totally taken aback by the way that these subhumans talk about baby parts, little tiny human beings, about the gathering, the harvesting of these little tiny baby parts. This is where that gray zone begins. This was the U.S. Code 42289G-2. Purchase of tissue. It shall be unlawful for any person to knowingly acquire, receive, or otherwise transfer any human fetal tissue for valuable consideration. The gray zone exists in the language. That cracked door left open. Question is it left open deliberately, or is it a error on the part of the language.
Sorry to interrupt Dr. Westhoff, but Dr. Nicotola has mentioned your name before as a good conversation. You just met my procurement technician. We work with, we do fetal tissue collections and other human cell specimen collection. Yeah. So, I don't know, Deborah's kind of been our contact on the national level for the past 8 months or so.
Yeah, we haven't been working with anybody who wants stem cells. We've just been working with people who want particular tissues. Particular, like they want cardiac, or they want eyes, or they want neural, they want spinal cords. So, I mean, that sort of thing.
So basically, she's saying right here that they are not, this particular clinic is not working with stem cells. They are working with specific body parts.
Totally everything we gonads. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Everything we provide is fresh. We have a department that is focused on our abortion providers, and the head of that department is here, and I'm sure they have, in essence, at their fingertips, information about volume and second try versus first try, and so on. And I think they would be the right people to explore whether affiliates are different. Obviously, we would have the potential for a huge PR issue doing this.
Did you get what she said? It would be a huge HR, PR problem if they did that. But listen to what else she has to say here.
I think we're very discreet about it. Everybody else is very discreet. Yeah.
Well, I will make sure you're here for the whole
Yeah, we'll be here all weekend, as they say. Yeah, we've got to.
So but it's Deb Nugatoli you've spoken with so far. I'll make sure you talk to a couple of our National Office Abortion people.
This is important. This could destroy your company and us if we don't time, those conversations correctly.
It's about the timing. What she really means, as I've researched to find out, is the timing in the law. The timing in whoever is in federal office needs to be timed correctly, because the language in the laws needs to make sure it's written with a loophole that allows this criminal activity to continue.
Hello. Good to meet you.
Pleasure, thank you.
Is it the liver only that you? Oh no, it's all kinds of stuff. It's definitely liver is probably easily the most, the highest in demand right now. And then neural tissue and neural progenitors is another big one that's very difficult, because that's where specimen quality and the impact especially is a big concern, because the brain is really, really fragile. So.
Yeah. Do you can I ask you about remuneration?
Yeah.
So,
Conversation.
what's your policy and what?
So she's interested, but she wants to know about compensation. She wants to know how they're going to get paid. Are they going to get paid piece by piece? And if so, how are they paid? Because she knows that they have to be under that umbrella of shipping and processing.
We would, however they want to work it is fine with us. Typically, most places are doing per specimen, because it just makes most sense, because that's how they work and that's how we work as well. That's actually, I'm supposed to have a discussion with one of the affiliates possibly later this weekend about that.
Well, one of the things that we advise is our affiliates is to really consider that carefully. That might be a different situation with independents, though. I have been talking to the executive director of the National Abortion Federation. We're trying to figure this out as
the National Abortion the head of the National Abortion Federation. So they've been speaking about it, trying to figure it out as an industry, how they're going to handle the money. How is the money going to come to us? We got to be really careful here. We don't want to take in any money that's going to get us hung up.
It's an industry about how we're going to manage remuneration.
Oh,
Headlines would be disaster.
It has to be very discreet. Yeah.
It has to be very discreet. Discreet meaning secret, meaning under the table, back alley deals. This stuff, I'm telling you, is they're like the modern day grave robbers, but there's no graves. They don't have necessarily any dirt on their hands. They want to make sure that they're doing this on the sly.
Absolutely. What I understand from Deborah is there's not a set PPFA national policy right now, or how does it all come
There
together?
is a policy, and it's relatively intentional, and the policy that we do have suggests that you just really think about what you're doing, that your procurement service, and if there's any way you can do it mission-based, that's probably better. If you do decide that you want to engage in remuneration, you just really need to think that through. And then think New York Times headline when you're creating a policy.
Yeah.
New York Times headline. So they don't want to be in the newspapers. They don't want to create any pushback by the public about what they're doing. So they've got to be very secretive about it.
You don't by any chance have on you the PPFA guidelines on tissue procurement or anything like
There
that?
are no guidelines.
Not written.
Yeah, there are guidelines on research, but there are not guidelines on tissue procurement.
So there are guidelines on research, but there are no guidelines on tissue procurement, so buying of this tissue. Now, I want you to remember the umbrella of research and why they are supposedly selling these baby parts. And I want you to listen to a little bit of this video. This is a really good video on a channel that came out with this video called The Truth About Stem Cells. Have you listen to a part of it.
Remember this in the news?
Stem cell research is about to take a giant step forward with the world's first human study using embryonic stem cells.
A cell that can grow into just about anything.
They're essentially unprogrammed or blank cells. Take a stem cell, manipulate it in the lab, and it can become a heart cell, a liver cell, a bone marrow cell. One source is aborted embryos. Another source, embryos infertile couples have set aside in a bank but don't end up using to start a pregnancy.
On the controversial edge tonight, stem cell research. It's a procedure polarizing America and the White House. We don't believe that the average American wants to see tiny embryonic boys and girls, little children, used as experimental material.
It may be early to say that they are or aren't human life.
On the other side are stem cell researchers and celebrity patients who have lobbied Congress for federal funding.
I'm one of a million involuntary experts on Parkinson's disease. Should federal tax dollars be used to destroy human life?
I say no. And this is where it gets tricky, and this is why there's so much pressure put on at federal level by people all trying to voice to their officials that they don't want this to happen. This is why those so-called loopholes are written in. Now, my question is, and will be from this point on in research, is it for research? Are they harvesting this tissue purely for research? Have a listen to this woman's discovery.
Look, this is Dr. Teresa Deisher.
Hello, I'm Dr. Teresa Deisher with Sound Choice Pharmaceutical Institute. a nonprofit research organization whose mission is to conduct scientific research that will lead to the replacement of drugs and medicines that are discovered through the exploitation of another human being. Embryonic stem cells are so primitive, they grow out of control and they form tumors 100% of the time.
So the stem cells that are being supposedly harvested from this fetal tissue, they, as she stated, this doctor, she's found that they grow tumors 100% of the time.
I was the first person to identify and actually patent stem cells that I isolated from adults. It doesn't form tumors. So the controversy surrounding my discovery was that it was not necessary to destroy an embryo and able to do the type of work that people wanted to do.
Did you hear that? It's not necessary to collect this embryonic fetal tissue. It is not necessary for research.
There were many scientists absolutely outraged over my discovery. There was a battle because the embryonic stem cell proponents had won the public and the government, and they actively blocked the advancement of adult stem cells.
So did you also hear that? They basically ganged up on her and basically shut her down, and they wouldn't allow the further study of this adult stem cell research. Now, this video came out in April 27, 2018, so this is a relatively recent video, and so I have to believe that this is where we're at possibly right now with it. But what she's stating is crucial, because that means that they don't need to buy and sell baby parts. So the question hangs over, overarching, is why then? Why are they still procuring baby parts?
There is no reason that human beings have to be exploited in biomedical research, and we are leading the way to alternatives. The opinion of the experts in the field was that stem cells did not exist in the adult body outside of the blood system. And that was why people wanted to work with embryonic stem cells or fetal stem cells. And I had done some work with adult blood-forming stem cells, and in an experiment where I was working with adult mouse hearts, we stumbled upon it, an interesting stem cell in the culture that was not a blood stem cell. And so I followed it. I knew what a stem cell looked like and how it acted, and it was just incredibly primitive, and it could become almost any kind of cell in the body. And we called it, one of my colleagues called it the ultimate stem cell. People who have since rediscovered it, it's been repeated, call it a V cell.
V cell.
A very small embryonic-like cell. I called it a pluripotent mesoderm-derived cell.
Her name is Dr. Teresa Deischer. I urge you to look her up. I urge you to investigate yourself if you want to help stop this inhumane, heinous process and just unbelievable, inhumane, criminal activity. I will be posting another video of part 3 of this, so I hope you come back. Thank you.